looks like a propane tank, a silver propane tank, just like in the sky. And it's at just towards the end, it pauses and it does like kind of like a scribble and then moves. I'm like, okay, that's not a freaking plane.
It was right around the same time that UAP task force got set up in the United States. Canada kind of tried to follow suit a bit, and they set up a government entity called Sky Canada. But none of that stuff is public record. And no one's known, what has happened since that organization was set up.
A SWAT team, all in military gear with AR-15s attached to them. And it was a SWAT of them, and they went into the bush, and the rescue guys are like, that was a SWAT team doing like in a rescue mission.
What's going on, everybody? This is Scott Mirth from Mysterious Planet, and welcome to another episode of the UAP Sessions. Today we have two special guests. Returning to the show is my friend, UFO researcher and host of the UAP Studies podcast, Jason Guillemette, and we're also going to be joined by my friend, filmmaker, Darcy Weir. So we're going to be talking about all the things going on in Canada in terms of UFOs. I'm going to invite Darcy and Jason in. There you are.
Finally made it. Jeez.
We made it happen. We made it happen. There we go.
There's that sexy mug.
We made it happen. What's going on, gentlemen?
Oh, just got to turn off my other stuff here, but
I think the last time all three of us were in probably the debrief episode on UAP studies after we went to Washington.
That's right.
I think the last time the three of us were on the same program
That's
together.
Right. That's true. That's true.
That's true.
Good times. Good times. Yeah. For anyone who is watching this either on the replay or live, and you don't know, I met Jason and Darcy both in DC last year at the UAP hearing. We were in line for 5 or 6 hours together that day. So
I think it was probably the most memorable part of the whole thing was like Darcy and I showing up there. I don't know what time in the morning. I think it was like 5, and I could not find a coffee place to save my life anywhere in Washington, which like downtown anyways. And yeah, freezing our butts off outside, but we had a blast. Like we were laughing, and that was good. I think that was probably my favorite part of the whole thing.
Yeah, that was good times. It really was. It really was. And I told people, like, going to that hearing literally changed, like, everything, like, for me, because I got to, like, meet people like you guys and just, like, getting more involved, like, in the movement, I guess, as opposed to just kind of being, like, a bystander and, like, posting videos. Like, actually getting involved, I think. I mean, it was a game changer for me. And I appreciate you guys for being so cool to me on that day. So
you know what, everybody starts off somewhere, and I was really impressed with how much people Darcy knows. Like literally we can all walk 5 feet unless somebody knew Darcy and was like, hey, whoa, what's up? Hey, how's it going? Like he knew everybody. That was just, I'm like, really, man, how long have you been doing this? He looks young, but he's really old on the inside, right?
Right.
Yeah, welcome to the core. No, I mean, it's a blessing and a curse, right? Because your haters and your lovers are out there.
That's true.
But it was great. It was a great experience, and I would do it again if maybe they started the hearing at 3 p.m. instead of like 9, because I feel old. Like waking up, this guy was like mashing on my hotel door. Like, wake up, man. And I was like, fuck. Like, right. I had about 4 hours of sleep, and then we were in line for another 6 hours starting at 5 a.m. to get into this thing. And it was epic.
Which then didn't matter because everybody bolted once they got inside the Rayburn building, which is like a maze on the inside. Nobody told me this. It's just, I get out of Baskin Robbins, I'm looking around like, it's like 4 hours later, I finally find you guys were out. It's like took forever. I can't
remember like how, but as soon as we got through the security check, I like lost you guys. And then the line became this ball of shit inside where all the butlers were like flying in front, and then you got Donnie trying to fucking butt in line like, hey guys, I'm wearing my $1,000 Versace green felt suit. Do you mind if I'm your friend, right, Darcy? And it's like, fuck, dude, get to the back of the line. But yeah, man, it was. I think I heard it was the same thing this last time around, but it looked like far less people got in.
It was a lot less people. Like it did become a cluster F when we got in because people who were in the front of the line ended up in the back. You know what I mean? Once we got into the building, like a lot of people got screwed. But
and they were doing that list.
Huh?
They were doing that list thing.
They did do that list thing, and it like people were like abiding by it outside, and like everyone got into a formation. And then once we got inside, it was just like every man for himself.
Yeah,
that's when it was bad to put us on the list. You know what I mean? Like, why put me on the list if it's not going to matter the minute the door's open? Like, I'm going to get trampled to death before I even get there, right? But
yeah,
but the thing is, it doesn't matter. I think humans are humans, and it doesn't matter what line you're in, even if it's a line for Star. Like, it reminded me of the line of Star Wars. The Star Wars, I used to like, because I'm a big geek. Back in the day, I used to go to the theaters the night before, camp out. Darcy, you probably did that. Scott, you probably did that too. And they would give you a number, like, oh, you're number 49 in line or something. And that mattered because then you could go to the bathroom. People knew your position. This doesn't apply to ufology at all. So it was kind of funny, but it was that with everybody holding tripods and some sort of recording equipment. So it was funny. It was funny.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, it really was like that. And actually, when it went to the hearing like a month, 2 months ago, do you remember that guy we were standing in line with, Robin?
He was the guy with that whole like camera rig,
that crazy rig,
with one camera, like two cameras facing that way, two cameras, maybe one facing.
It was impressive.
Yeah, I saw him again at the hearing.
He paid for Danny Sheehan's $10,000 UFO course, right?
Oh my God, I didn't know that part. That's crazy.
That's what he said to me, and he was pissed off because they like announced it was free or something that day. But
that's wild.
Yeah, I remember Robin. He was a good guy.
Yeah, he was in line with me again. We weren't right next to each other, but I saw him. I talked to him for a little bit, but yeah. All right, so let's get into the topic of today. We're talking about what's going on in Canada in terms of UFOs. And then we're going to go into some, I talked to you, Darcy, earlier, but we want to go into some of the Atlas stuff too. So as far as the UFOs in Canada thing goes, like I know we see here in the United States where like the government is really pushing for like, or quote unquote pushing for disclosure and seemingly trying to push this, movement forward. But is something similar to that happening in Canada or what?
Darcy, I'll let you take the helm on this one.
Well, I don't know if I need to take the helm. I would say that what's this guy's name that is a journalist for CTV News? Daniel
Otis.
Daniel Otis.
Yeah.
So I think one of the best two people that you could talk to about Canadian UFO legislation or history or current events in terms of credible sightings by pilots and all that, like reporting and stuff, is Daniel Otis, because he's actually chased up like some pretty cool stuff. He was on a News Nation interview with Ross Coulthart recently, talking about like doing the Canadian version of a FOIA with the nuclear power plants, because we have quite a few. We have like Toronto's like New York North, right?
Right.
It's our biggest city across the country. And one of the biggest nuclear power plants that we have in Canada is the Pickering power plant, which is just to the east of downtown Toronto. about an hour and a half, I'd say, is Pickering. And they have a massive nuclear power plant that apparently there's been UFO sightings over. And so Daniel Otis asked for them to release their files or reports on these sightings that were had in the past, and they have no obligation to do so. It's not as easy, just like in the United States. You can FOIA government documents and then they can redact them if they deem it worthy of releasing to you. But you can't FOIA Northrop Grumman. You can't FOIA Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. You know, the third-party corporations, which a nuclear power plant would fall under, is exempt from that type of request because they don't work for the government. They are a third party.
Right.
But he's been doing that, Daniel Otis, and then Chris Rakowski, who's a bit of an older guy. Hope he doesn't get insulted by me saying that, but he's been on the UFO trail historically and collecting reports, archiving them in Canada for about 20 odd years, I think now. And when Sky Canada got set up, which was right around the same time that the UAP task force got set up in the United States, Canada kind of tried to follow suit a bit, and they set up a scientific government entity called Sky Canada. I think that's what it's called. Am I wrong here,
Yeah.
Jason?
No, you're right. It's Sky Canada.
And they were just basically going through reports from pilots and stuff like that, but none of that stuff is public record. None of it gets published online for people to review, citizens. It's all their data, and no one's known, you know, what has happened since that organization or that science entity was set up. We have no idea if they've made progress, and how many reports have come into them every year. But Chris Rakowski, who was one of the OGs collecting this stuff and was recognized by the Canadian government as somebody that could collect this stuff, he was contacted by Sky Canada, and they've been sending him that data. So like out of everybody in Canada, this guy has the stuff. And I, last year in 2024, I was invited to show a film and speak at the Shag Harbor Incident conference, it's called Shag Harbor Expo. Pretty good. We always get some great speakers every year. We had Mark D'Antonio this year. Last year we had Bryce Zabel, who like completely avoided me, probably at the behest of Ryan, Ghost Hunter guy. Yeah, I got to spend 4 hours on the way to the conference in a car with Burkowski and Jen Stein, who's the MUFON director out of Sedona. And really got to know him. And then on the way back from the weekend, got to spend another 4 hours just sort of debriefing on how things went and all that stuff. But he's very skeptical. Like, he gets all of these reports, and he's not somebody that publishes them or thinks there's anything to it. He actually thinks a lot of this stuff in the United States is like, he's not a fan of Lou Elizondo. He's not a fan of like Christopher Mellon. Like, he basically just thinks that they're all swept up in this frenzy of UFO intrigue. But
right.
yeah,
So he's getting these reports, right? So he's seeing this information. What does he think it is?
I mean, the usual suspects. I think he thinks a lot of it's prosaic, misidentification. The older cases, like what's that case? Was it called like Falcon Bay or something? Falcon Lake, where that guy got burned by a UFO.
Yeah, Falcon Lake, Manitoba. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got like the best records on that and really knows the guy. And I said, dude, we should make a documentary about that. And I said, Jason and I should travel out there, do a hike during the summer and find the metal that's in the rock and all that stuff.
Do a recreation, try to recreate what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, it's just time. I got to get to it. I got like a kid and stuff, and
Right.
Jace is busy too with life, and we'd love to do it, but yeah. But basically,
all in due time.
all in due time. He's sitting on a lot of records that there's a lot of information on, and I think he's, you know, he's skeptical, but he's open to possibly something, you know, happening here.
Okay. Is there any place where he's like sharing this information? Like he has all these records. Is he just kind of like hoarding them, or is?
No, actually, he donated a massive collection to Manitoba. I think it was a university.
Yeah.
They have one of the largest collections on UFOs now, thanks to Chris.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's amazing in that regard of just sharing the information. And what's amazing about him is, even though, like Darcy was saying, like he'll be, you know, he's always on the skeptic side, but he'll explain everything as it was told by the witness. So he won't say, oh, and then he said they saw this. He'll say, and then the witness said that they saw a craft. And like, he always does them justice. He might be skeptical, but at least in that approach, right, I really do respect him, because if I'm going to tell him something, it's, you know, I want him to do it justice. But here's the thing, though. I think in between those who are just merely interested in UFOs, they study UFOs, never seen one. Then there are those who haven't experienced, seen one, and then they start to study it. So they come from two different viewpoints, if you will. One's investigating somebody who's never witnessed. One's witnessed something they never investigated. So it's completely different. And I think we are, like my friend Darcy was saying, like we are prone, like especially the big names now, to try to stay on top like it's current news. And they're almost treating it like it's like following the White House developments, but with UAPs. The problem with that, though, is that you're trying to stay relevant. You're trying to stay on top. So what you're going to do is you're going to compromise on, one, your investigation, your reputation, because now you're doing shortcuts to try to beat everybody else to the punch. And I think that's what's happening, obviously. In Canada, it's really stupid, but Darcy and I always comment on this. Nobody cares. No one cares. The government doesn't care. The public doesn't care. Our mainstream media does not care. And yet you're thinking, okay, we're the second largest country in the world. The amount of events that have happened, we have cattle mutilations, abduction phenomenon, sightings, just the weirdest events that have ever, the crashes of like the gentleman from Falcon Lake went up to the craft and there was like a vent with all these holes. And when it took off, the vent just hit him and he had all like basically radiation marks all over his body. For physical evidence, this is one of the best ones that we have. And in Canada, we have very famous cases. I'm investigating some right now for a book that I'm researching or working on family lineages and the amount of families in Canada alone that are abductees. So this is something, again, that our own people are not addressing, as is something that's happening. Obviously, we have our own issues in Canada right now with our political system. But Larry Maguire is the only MP that from Manitoba, again, that has been pushing for this, especially near the nuclear facilities. Like it's nuclear facilities and oil sands, and check out the mines as well. If you want to see UAPs, stay by like a mine, any mine, like usually really popular ones. You'll see them, and they pop up at night. I had truck drivers from mines call me up and say, yeah, man, like they follow the trucks at night from the mine to where we're going. Like, are you serious? And so these little tidbits of like, okay, well, what is it? Where can we see this? Because we can't reproduce a sighting in Canada. The country is way too large. But the link between Canada and the United States, and I will shut up here soon, with UAPs is like since 1947 that we've been matched in copy to the States. Like, I just found out Skunkworks has or I should say Lockheed Martin has a base of operation in Kamloops. And I just saw their tent here in Abbotsford. Darcy, I think I sent you a picture. They have a tent here located like Lockheed Martin about their technology, like on the Canadian side. And I know where my brother lives in Kamloops, another UFO hotspot. They happen to have a base of operation there. If you're going to be the United States, your country is very, very densely populated. It's harder to fly things, except if you're going to go to Nevada. Canada's vast, and you could be sure to fly something and nobody's going to see it. I think moving their operations up here is probably something that they've done, and probably why we're so quiet on the matter, at least when it comes down to this. Our governments are hands off.
Wow. See, so that's interesting because, I mean, one thing that you mentioned was that, people in general, people don't care. The media doesn't care about the subject. I mean, that's something that's here too. Like, people in general don't care in the United States. Like, I can go knock on my neighbor's door right now and ask them about David Grush, and they have no idea who I'm talking about. So, like, people don't pay attention. That's actually really, I think, one of the biggest problems with this whole disclosure movement is because the only people who pay attention are people like us, people who are ufologists, people who are interested in the subject. The general public is not paying attention. And until the general public pays attention, I don't think this movement is actually going to go forward and get into like real disclosure, because there's no real pressure on the government to release this information other than UFO heads. Like, and why should they listen to us, right? So it's like, until a bigger portion of the population starts paying attention, it's just like we're running on a treadmill with this thing.
Well, I think, like in my case, it's not too bad, because what I do is not, I don't try to target the large audience. But Darcy, like, his movies are on Amazon, they're on Tubi, they're everywhere. Yeah. And Darcy, you've covered pretty much all the subjects in ufology at this point. And you got to think, like, the amount of movies that he's done, and I would be more frustrated if I was him for the amount of work that it takes to make a documentary and produce it and then release it. And then having that same reaction from the audience, which is like, meh. It's like, I would be bad, but Darcy's got the patience of a saint compared to me. Yeah.
I don't know how Darcy, how many films do you have now?
I've made over 20, but 2 of them are docu-series. And I will say that, like, I don't think the reaction is meh, because I see the back end data on how many times these films have been downloaded or viewed. And like, at this time this late in my career, and I've been making them since 2012, like, it's over 100 million, like, downloads,
That's
like
amazing.
So yeah. So it's, people are watching this content and people are commenting, and I do get people that reach out and say, love your work, whatever. I'm not liked by some people when I'm skeptical towards, like, the BS. And I've been doing that a lot more now that I'm, like, I don't know, a little bit more tired of the BS, like the disinformation. If we're going to have something like the Age of Disclosure kind of go mainstream, let's say this ends up on Netflix, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all of these congressmen, congresswomen, former general, intelligence and high-ranking military officials become well known for agreeing that this subject is a reality. It's not just some kind of like sci-fi, you know, or horror film theme, then that could be a bit of a paradigm change, and more people are going to be looking at this information and taking it seriously, right? Like,
Right.
2017 was a big thing for UFO heads when the New York Times published the declassified UAP videos, and Christopher Mellon and everybody coming to the forefront. But now it's like a lot more people can talk about UFOs and just the idea that maybe we're not alone, right?
Right.
So I think just like you're never going to win over the Wall Street brat who's grown up with like a silver spoon in his mouth and, you know, has programmed himself by watching football and, you know, checking into work every week and, you know, basically being part of a corporate machine and not really giving time to this stuff.
Right.
You do have Wall Street interested in this with the SALT conference guys that have kind of come out of nowhere, really. In the past 3 years, that's been a thing.
Mhm.
So it's like all walks of life are kind of getting into this, but you're not going to win over everybody in terms of engagement of this subject. But I think it's one of the most important, you know, scientific and consciousness changing ideas, you know, known to man. Because if it's real, if there is a non-human intelligence that's out there taking a look at our planet and us, and we're not alone in the universe, but the government's been saying we have been, and there is none of that, that's huge. And obviously, you know, it's an important thing to me. So I'll probably just keep doing this. And, you know, if eventually something comes out that's 100% concrete and the whole world can know about it, it'll be great. It'll all be worth it. But, you know, there are some shysters out there. There is some BS, and there's that too.
That's true. And people need to be able to weed through the BS to get to the truth, because there's a lot of it out there, like you said. So I appreciate, you know, Darcy, that you're putting all these films together, because I know it's not easy work to do all that, especially the number of films you put together. So to do that I think it's a super positive thing to try to get people informed on what's like really going on. So that's awesome. And I know, Jason, you were mentioning minds and stuff, which kind of segues into one of our other topics here about hotspots.
Mhm.
And I know you told me you live near a hotspot.
Very much so. Fraser Valley is definitely a hot spot. Not only throughout Canada, but it's renowned. Like it's well known for UFO spotting. Here in Squamish, in Squamish, BC, there's a big sort of mountain, almost looks like a mesa that you guys have over there, but it's filled with activity, like weird orbs around there all the time. And it's like things of legends. The natives have been talking about it for, especially the West Coast, the Pacific West Coast, which is Washington, all the little islands between Washington and BC, and the coast is Pacific. And the one point of interest for me is the Cascade Mountains, because the amount of people that go missing in the Cascade Mountains, the amount of sightings that are there. Somebody even saw a black flying triangle amongst like low in the mountain ranges And it's fascinating. And this is what I thought about this whole, what I was mentioning about maybe Bob Lazar in the 80s mentions it. Now everybody's flogging over the desert to try to see if they could see something. They have to move the equipment. Where? Well, you move somewhere where the people aren't. Like the Cascade Mountains is not populated, so that'd be the perfect place to hide your stuff, right? And with immunity, you can fly into Canada at any point in time, fly and do whatever you want, go back home. There's no monitoring, no nothing. It's like I said, it's as far as we're concerned, the States comes here and operates as they will. But what's funny about this place, well, not so funny about this place is the amount of missing people and weird circumstances where they shouldn't have gone missing. Like they're only 5 minutes ahead on a trail. And there's a gentleman here who's only 14 years old, young East Indian men, came to just past Chilliwack here. I think it was Lindeman Lake, Darcy, is where this happened. And he's only 5 minutes ahead of the trail. His two friends are with him. One of them's fat, can't make it, huffing and puffing. So he goes, I'm only going to wait for you by the beach. They show up at the beach. He's not there. 4 hours they look for him and they can't find him. Like nowhere. They even went past that point to see, did he go further? Could not find him. They call search and rescue. They're there all the way till 4 a.m. Search and rescue finally finds him later at a different location by the lake. And by this lake, there's like, rocks that go down, but they go down almost like in steps, like this.
Right.
The kid was dropped from hundreds of feet onto the rock below. So there's no way he would have jumped from rock cliff to his own death. He was dropped from an elevation and have no clue how that happened. And wow. The thing with Harrison Lake, there's a gentleman there with his three dogs always with him. They never leave him. And Harrison Lake is only 20 minutes away from me. And they find his camper with his truck with the 3 dogs inside. And that's really weird because he's never done that. Search and rescue shows up. They say, okay, we went on with the situation. As they're getting ready to go out into the bush in Harrison, which is not only known for UFOs, but Bigfoot as well. It's like Bigfoot capital of Canada, Western Canada. A SWAT team of military looking, what looked like RCMP, but they were all in military gear with AR-15s attached to them. And it was a SWAT of them. And they went into the bush and the rescue guys are like, that was a SWAT team doing like in a rescue mission.
Right.
4 hours later, 5 hours later, SWAT team comes back, shuts down the whole operation, said they found him. We said, well, where is he? Well, so we didn't find him, but we found his backpack at the top of a mountain. This is British Columbia. It's not an easy mountain to climb. It would take you hours. They found his backpack at the top. No body, no nothing. But why the presence of this like military unit for a missing person? That made no sense. Right. Yeah, there's tons of stories around the Fraser Valley like this. And I think it is pretty much on the radar of anybody who's, interested in UFOs. But the main issues that we have here are the black flying or triangles. I had a gentleman in Surrey, not too far from here, that says he's seen up to 5 of them at one time up in the air. It could be a windy night and they just stay there for hours at a high elevation. Chilliwack, there's one that flew above the downtown Chilliwack. Like there was 100 people that witnessed this as it just hovered above the city, very, very low, past 5 corners. So we have tons of events like this. Hope was another one. There's so many cases, even abductions with black triangles in Aldergrove and all that. So there is definitely something going on out here, orbs and crafts, but abductions as well. The only thing that I'm interested in is as much cattle as we have, Darcy, have not found a cattle mutilation yet. Isn't that weird? You'd think you would with all the cattle that we have, but no. But they're dairy cattle here. They're not meat. So I wonder if that had something to do with it.
I think what's great about Jason is that he has access to all of these reports because he's part of MUFON Canada. And a lot of that stuff that he's talking about gets reported into that type of organization. And then as a researcher, he's able to access their database and pull up stuff locally, right? Otherwise, a lot of this stuff might just go to the police, right? And you don't have records to the shared to the public unless you know exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah.
That you can request from the police, and they can decide no or yes. It's up to them. But that's what I love about him. I mean, he's just a hardcore researcher, and he's going to go after, the best anomalous cases in Canada. And, he's always got his eyes on this guy. And that's why we've got this little Tic Tac video that came out of Vegas.
Vegas? Well, there's one in Vegas, and the one I sent to Scott, this is the one I filmed right here from my backyard. Yeah.
Is that the one that I have that's like a minute and you texted it to me to my cell phone, right?
When I was in Vegas, so this is weird, Scott. So when I'm in Vegas with the family, I think this was last month, my son spotted it first, so then I took a picture of it or a video of it, and I sent it to Darcy. I'm like, hey, what do you think of this? Like, it was just weird. Now, that one, personally, I could take it or leave it. I could say, okay, well, maybe it was a drone because they were getting ready for the F1. So maybe it's a drone at high elevation trying to like capture the tracks. Right. It was kind of weird. It didn't move like a drone, whatever. But the one that I sent you, I took that a couple of years ago, but I was in a hurry because I think I was going out to like eat somewhere, and I was going to clean after the dog, and I just saw that thing. And then my checklist goes in. Okay, well, no sound. You hear a sound in the video, but that's a lawnmower from across the way. There was no sound, no tail, no wings, no fumes. We got small Cessna planes that always come flying over our house all the time. We got a small airport. It was not a Cessna. And it was moving so slow across the sky. And I'm just like deliberating whether or not to go inside the house to get my camera. And I'm like, this is stupid. I can't call myself an investigator if I don't try to capture it. So I ran in, got my phone, and I try to make sure not to zoom in past a 4.5 on the phone, because otherwise then you lose pixelation, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but of course the trick, and they teach us this in MUFON, but if you're going to try to capture something, like have a fence post or a tree to give you some sort of depth. Because if I just focus on it on the sky, you wouldn't see that it's moving because I'm moving along with it. So it would just look like it's just standing there. And it would give you no indication of approximately where was it at. Try to get something in the foreground. Even if you have to take your hand or whatever, just have something to give you some depth. But this video just happened to do that because I had a tree in front of the way. So I try to utilize that as much as possible. And when I reviewed it, at first I'm like, okay, well, that's, it's interesting because it looks like a propane tank, a silver propane tank, just like in the sky. And it's at just towards the end, it pauses and it does like kind of like a scribble and then moves. I'm like, okay, that's not a freaking plane. Like the plane doesn't do that. And it's right almost at the tail end of the video that you see it. That's what captured my imagination. I'm like, wait a minute. I've never seen a plane take a step backwards before. Like, that's just weird. Right. That's why I sent it to you and Darcy. And so far I've sent it to a lot of UFO investigators, and nobody's come up with an explanation as to what it is. So it remains unidentified.
So the one that you texted me, that one is just looking at like the metadata here. So that was shot with a pixel. It's like 1 minute and 3 seconds.
That's Vegas. I think that's Vegas.
That's Vegas. Okay.
Is there a building in the foreground? If it's a building, it's Vegas.
That's a good question. It looks like trees. Like,
no, that would probably be the backyard one.
Well, let me take a look here. I'll open up the file.
It's great because it didn't do the metadata yet.
Like, it's just going, and you see like kind of a tree. Actually, you know what? I can flip my.
I think if there's a tree, it's my backyard one. Yeah, that's the one.
Right?
Yeah, that's it.
That's the one. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I actually ran this through an app I have to enhance it. And the way that the app works, right? It will essentially break up. So, all right, here we go. the original file you sent me is in like 720p, and that's like a pretty low resolution.
Yeah.
But when I run it through this app, it breaks up every frame into a 8K file. So the resolution is like, way better.
Way better than what I sent you. Yeah.
Yeah. It enhances what you got there. Now, I went through and I looked at like every frame, and I'm like, okay, like it's obviously going like that, and it looks very pill shaped, like a propane tank, as you were saying.
Yeah.
But I found one frame near the very end where you could actually, it looks like you could see do you see that little triangle that's up at the back
but that
right?
just appears on one frame?
Well, I mean, I can look. So I'm on frame 1710. I can look at the frame before that. I can look at the frame after that, maybe a couple before and a couple after. But from that frame, it's starting to look a little bit, to me, like you're looking at a plane profile, and it's got its tail. What's it called? Like that, the tail fin to a plane, it looks a little bit like that there, and the front kind of looks like maybe the wheels are down, maybe it's a plane that's, I don't know, but let's take a look. So that's frame 1710. I'm gonna go into my folder here. Going all the way down, 17.
And this is actually a great example here, Scott, of like almost like peer review or talking things over with other ufologists, because they could do things that I can't do. Do you know what I mean? So like if he's able to do that, I would have never thought of that, to look it through a program like that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But also have somebody, double, triple check your work is super important, right?
Yeah, no, well, I'm just, I don't know. Like literally I did this in the last hour to see if it helps our conversation at all. But, so, don't call me Mick West here or anything, but this is frame
Jason, it was a flock of seagulls.
Yeah. So this is 2 frames before the one we just looked at, 1708. Okay, let's open that one up. So we got, 1708 looks like an amorphous blob. That's not really helping us much.
But again, so like if it was a plane, it looks too round, and a plane would have the wings and stuff like that. They're noticeable, especially at a low altitude.
That's 1709. Okay. Again, it looks roundish. It doesn't. I'm not seeing that tail. The tail, because again,
feature. Yeah.
This is 1711. So there's one frame after. Again, it just looks like pill shaped.
And like I said, if you watch a little maneuver right before the end of the video, it does like a back and forth and a pause, really brief, but you see it and you're like, wait a minute, that's not conventional. Like,
right.
Yeah. So I'm not, pretty much that's the only frame I could see it looking like that. I don't know if one frame is enough to conclude anything, but that's when it looks like a
that
plane.
one frame, yeah.
Yeah.
But one frame out how many?
Well, I've got another one where it kind of looks like that again. That's 1723.
Okay.
Right. But see, the weird thing is, even with that weird little tail-ish looking thing in the back, it's still very like pill-shaped.
Yeah. No,
which
yeah,
is
no, I know. And
odd.
that's the thing, like, it depends. Like, sometimes these things look like a flying butane tank because A, your camera is not powerful enough to like articulate everything from that distance, right?
Right.
It's not going to see wings and wheels because it's so far away. And again, the plane is flying by you like this.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to see the side. You're not going to see the wings coming out of the side because they're aimed right at you, like completely with your eye line. And then, you know, you're not going to see like a dropped wheels because they're just, again, like way too small to really, the camera to articulate it. But it will see the fuselage, right? Which from the side looks incredibly like a butane tank or pill-shaped object from super far away. But I'm going to go watch the video because I
was facing
I
east,
ran it
and
through that
yeah,
app before I watched the whole video. So I'm watching the whole
yeah,
video. I'll let you guys talk about it. Yeah, sorry.
yeah. Just watch the way it maneuvers. It's more towards the end of the video. It does a really weird slippy thing. You'll see it by the tree. But the thing is with this area, especially where I'm at now, like we used to see them all the time when I was a kid. There was a military base out here, and they used to fly jets, F-15s and stuff like that around here. But you would always see them, especially above farms. They would just hover there for hours. And when we first moved out here when I was a kid, I had no idea. Like nobody knew that this was a hot spot. And it just happened to be that I grew up in this area. And because of my interest, I'm like, holy crap, like I'm in one of the right locations for sure. But there are, especially with, I think it's the location with these buggers because one, dry climates,
Right.
they like that. So we know like Nevada and stuff like that, Arizona. Even if you go up to Kamloops and Kelowna, British Columbia,
Mm-hmm.
it's actually the same landscape as Nevada. It goes all the way up into Canada. We actually have a desert in BC. It's called the Okanagan. And it basically that mountain range from like Nevada goes all the way into Canada. And that again is a very big hotspots for UFOs. So you're thinking, okay, well, it has to do maybe with the terrain, has to do maybe with the resources would be a big part of a non-human intelligence search on a daily basis. Like you need researchers, like,
Right.
if you're going to build something, a new ship or something like that here, you're not going to fly back home or to get your materials. You're going to get what's available here. So again, if you look at where are the biggest sources? Well, we know water is a big source, but look, there's many people covering the water USO stuff right now. And where do you look? Like you really don't know where to look in the ocean or lakes yet. But on the surface, there's certain places we know we can look. In the 70s, Manitoba, lower Manitoba, and I think it was North Dakota, that's right beneath it. North Dakota, the United States used to store a bunch of nuclear weapons in their silos there. And in the 70s, on just the opposite side of the border in Canada, we had Red Charlie, which was a red UFO that would always show up, and it would go from Canada to the States to where the silos were. And it was, what's that?
Was that Grant Cameron's famous case?
Yeah, the Red Charlie. But it was so much, Scott, that it was almost repeatable. People would like hear that the Red Charlie showed up, and it would drive to the next town where they knew he would normally fly. Like it was almost on a predictable pattern. Again, we know that nukes attract them, so there are things that we know will draw them in. That means the government knows how to draw them in too, right? They know that nuclear-powered ships attracts these USOs. That's a great way to lure one in if you want to trap one. If you're going to attempt to trap one, which I don't think you should try to do. That's extremely idiotic on our part. Pick a fight with non-humans. But, in Canada, it's like, again, we have these hotspots and yet nobody cares. We have so many people that see things. They have nobody to report it to. And we talk about MUFON. A lot of people don't know about MUFON. I still have to explain what MUFON is. And, I don't work for them anymore, but man, like invaluable information at this point, because I got to see how much activity is actually taking place in my neck of the woods. And when I was with them, Scott, I was the only investigator in the entire province of British Columbia. It's huge. And I thought, this is ridiculous. It's one of the most active spots in the world. And there's one guy investigating it. And the only reason I got into it to begin with is nobody was doing it. I said, well, somebody has to. So I just joined. I was just like, I didn't think that, UAP studies was going to take it this far. But I think that's what it is. It's kicking people in the ass saying, do your part. Kind of like what you're doing, at the end of your world, like, do your part. And it's not easy. Like, Darcy's got a family, he's got travel. It costs money to do, research and stuff like that. And nobody pays you. That comes out of your wallet, right? We're not like the bigwigs that get funded by whoever's funding them. And that's who the real investigators are. Like, even my co-host, Katie Page, like, one of the most phenomenal researchers that I know. But people don't know that. If you mention, the big names, Ross Coulthard or Jeremy Corbell, everybody knows them, but that's the problem. Once everybody knows you, how reliable is your information? Because if I was to blow up big, I would want my friends to question me, where the money's coming from. Why am I saying what I'm saying? Darcy will hold me to it for sure. He won't hold back. But that's the thing. And we got to hold each other accountable, because the thing is that at one point is somebody going to start peddling lies to you that you repeat as absolutes. And trust me, there's people in the field that will say, hey, Ross Coulthard, he's at the top. Jesse Michaels, he's at the top. Start feeding these guys. And they know what they're doing, man. They've been doing this for 100 years. They know how to weave you in and be the buddy. And that's the problem that I have, is the corruption that comes in it. Even this new film that comes out, Age of Disclosure, it's mainly Lou Elizondo, which at this point has already shot himself in the foot with his reputation. So is it really going to be a big change in... if we keep interviewing the same dinosaurs, and Darcy, you're a filmmaker, you know this, if we keep interviewing the same frickin' people, same dinosaurs, repeating the same crap that we've heard over and over again, it's not new and exclusive. It's not going to change the world. It's the same crap. It's the same sandwich in different order. That's pretty much it. So, we got to look at the new people and stop listening to the old people. Why? Because the old people lied to us long enough that now they're old and now they want to tell us the truth. What happened to before? Your conscience wasn't clean? Like, it's like I said, it's kind of a bit of a joke of this whole disclosure thing, and still holding on to old men that ran programs to tell us the truth. No, I want guys like David Rush, like the young guys that are on the field. And, when you start to investigate the amount of people that we've got to speak to, people in the CIA, the DOD, military, a lot of them are experiencers from childhood. And a lot of them get into these positions almost like seamlessly, like almost like they're selected. Again, we're talking about the breeding program and the hybrids. Well, what are the odds that there may be tons of hybrids on this planet? They're kept tabs on, and then they work for the government, right? They get positions at DOD. They get positions in clerical positions at the CIA. Like, there's different things we need to look at. Why is it that this is so devastating? Like, look, unless they're going to eat us and drain us for fluids, I can't see what's so devastating that the people can't handle it, besides our ego, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, again, like...
Thank you for listening to my rant.
No. Like, it's true, because in the end, I know this is all like talk about money and national security or whatever, but in the end, it's just the nature of our reality that we live in, which should not be something that's hidden from us. Like, why should we not be allowed to understand the nature of the reality that we live in? Yeah. And so, I mean, I know a lot of people, if, all this stuff comes to light about reverse engineering and how it's like being done unconstitutionally and illegally, basically, a lot of people going to prison. So they're trying to avoid that, I guess. But in the end, it's the nature of our reality, and that shouldn't be classified information. Darcy, you watched the video, right, just now?
What's that?
I was saying, Darcy, you watched the video?
Yeah, I just watched the whole video. I think at the very end, like my interpretation of this is that based on where Jason is standing on the ground and he's trying to keep tracking the object in the sky, he seems to be pivoting and actually kind of strafing with the object to keep it in frame. And because he's doing that and going around the tree, it makes the object appear to like kind of stay locked in one position.
Yeah.
But it might be because he's found it and he's, you know, following it. And because he's following it, it looks like it's locked in the sky and it's stopped, but really it's not. And then when he stops moving, right, when he stops strafing to the right, then the object appears to jut to the left because it's moving independently from him following it again. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. So if you're, it's like the traction of the camera will give it almost like a.
It looks like it's stopped.
Yeah, I can see, I can see what you mean.
But really, it's because you're following it to the right around this tree with its leaves and stuff. You know, in the left, it appears like it's stopped. But then when you stop, then it starts moving again. Do you know what I mean? Because you stopped tracking it, therefore it's. But
what do you think of just the way that it?
But it's still, to me, I mean, like I'm looking at one of the last frames of it here, you know, and
pretty tube-like.
It looks like, it doesn't look like it has a tail, whatever.
It was a good capture. Yeah, it was a good capture for sure. I'm proud of that. It's probably my best one so far. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it. It's cool. And I've seen definitely lots. And you see like birds and flies, you know, shooting around in the foreground. So
yeah.
You did a good job.
Well, you could clearly tell it's an airplane. You could hear the motor. I'm like, that's a lawnmower. Like, you couldn't hear, like, what kind of jet do you think would have, like, a propeller in front? Like, it would be a jet because of the tube shape. But even then, it's like, it's not the way that a jet, you know, the passenger tube normally looks. Like, it looks like it's shorter, a little bit wider. Like, it just, like I said, the shape of it doesn't fit. You know, your conventional plane that flies around here. So
I haven't listened to the audio, but I'm sure there's a way to boost the sound so you can hear everything, like birds chirping, lawnmower, and possibly, you know, the sky, some kind of echo in the sky from a plane, if that is what's there. But I haven't listened to it yet. I mean, I could pop my headphones on and boost it and stuff, but
I think your program that could separate the frames is brilliant, because that would be a great way for me to go frame by frame for, you know, or any investigator to be able to do that.
Yeah. And each frame is like 35 megabytes, and the original video file you sent me is 21 megabytes. So it's
it does boost it up.
It really blows things up. Yeah. But like I said, excuse me, I didn't see, it doesn't look like a plane, but we have to, like, obviously
go through the checklist.
Yeah. But also, it would be great if you can figure out, are you still living in that house from 2016?
Yeah, I'm in the very office, right at the door right here is where I took the video, yeah.
So go stand where you were standing when you shot this video and look at Google Maps, the direction that you're looking, see if there would be an airport that way. You know, like would that be like,
in the direction it was going in was an airport, but the airport would be way further down the city. So it was going towards that direction, but then it went, it was going north and then it just went east. And then that's when I lost it with the camera. I wasn't able to find it anymore. It just went and then wasn't able to find it. So I got the video.
Okay, yeah. So I was just saying, like, if it's on a flight path that it looks like it's going to that place, then, you know, that might be helpful. And also,
but I had Flight Radar 2, right? Flight Radar 24, and I could not find it on there. Like, it wasn't popping up. There was no tags, no nothing. So that's what made it interesting. I was like, okay, I'll upload it to Facebook and I'll come back and rewatch it. Completely slipped my mind. I just rewatched it like a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about this. And then the more I'm watching, I'm like, wait a minute, I can't see like wings or anything. Like, so that's where it piqued my interest. But you know, I think there's a lot of people that might have stuff like that on their phones or computers they completely forgot about. Probably amazing footage that any UFO investigator, even Mark D'Antonio is like one of those analysts that like you could send him anything, he'll let you know what you're looking at, right?
Yeah, he's great. Yeah. The interesting thing. I also shared a car with him for 4 hours because he was at Shag Harbor this year, and you know, he's worked with Hollywood special effects guys like Douglas Turnbull, and he told me this whole history he had doing like special effects for Hollywood and for TV commercials, like all this very sciencey stuff, and that's why he's one of MUFON's top people. Why did you leave MUFON, if you don't mind me asking, Jace?
Well, to tell the truth is basically my work-life balance was pretty rough, and then the podcast has really taken off. And that took a lot of my time, you know, because people would send me books. I'm reading their books, but then I wasn't able to do my cases. So eventually I dropped out. Plus, they were giving me cases that were taking place in Alberta, which I did my best to invest. I even solved a big one with just the technology at home. But I was getting pretty good. But at some point, I'm like, no, this is, you know, you're taking on too much. And I can't investigate something that, you know, if there's a cattle mutilation or something like that 3 hours away, I'd probably drive there. But I'm not going to drive to Saskatchewan or Alberta to go investigate a light in the sky. Like that's you can't do that, and you really need boots on the ground. And you know, I tell everybody, like, start with MUFON. If you want to start investigating, start there. Why? One, they do have a training program. Their computer program is upgraded, which wasn't when I was there. And two, they give you cases to get started. And if you're going to start somewhere, just start there. Nobody knows what the hell they're doing when they first start. Nobody does. You're not going to enter the field and be Jacques Vallée overnight because you read 2-3 books, or most people just watch documentaries or YouTube. They don't even bother reading anymore. And then you realize that everything you think you know, and you know, I call it the couch experts, you know, that sit on the couch. Let's say they watch Darcy's film, go, everybody knows blah, 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 because so-and-so said it. Like, that's their opinion because they follow this one guy that thinks that. But you get to do your own research, and you get to know people behind the scenes. They say never meet your heroes, because obviously that's true. There's some people you'd be disappointed in, but some people you won't. Some people you'd be pleasantly surprised at who they turn out to be. And for me, the smaller guys, like Darcy and I, we got along fine just right away. Same with you, Scott. Because we're on the same path. Like, look, I make no money doing this. I'm shit poor, but this is a work of passion for me. And when I die, at least I could put my freaking check mark on it. I did something, right? This field doesn't need Hollywood, like, experts, or like if you go to like a convention and you see some of these people walk in like they're Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt, and you're like, wow, how quickly such a small amount of success goes to people's heads. And then to me, I lose faith in these people, because then I think, you know, they're not genuine. They turn on the camera and they're like, hi, how are you? And they're so nice. The minute the cameras go off, completely different people. And now some people again called out on that. I've never made it. I've never been shy to say that I don't like Stephen Greer. I think the guy's a grifter, always has been. And the way he treats people behind the scenes, if his audience knew the way he treats people, they wouldn't follow him. And that goes to show about the person, the personality, the way they treat others. You know, then I can't, you know, he's going to tell me that about disclosure. Like, dude, you can't even treat the staff around you properly. Like, I don't trust people like that. That to me it's a charlatan. It's people that, you know, this is how cults start. You know, that
Right.
over boasting of confidence, follow me, I'm the one, I have the answer. That's how people end up drinking Kool-Aid and getting new Nike shoes. You know what I mean? And I'm not interested in that. I've never have. And I think calling it out, and Darcy does the same. Like, we started calling out people like, look, this isn't legit. Like, this guy's full of shit, or this guy's a scammer, or don't follow this guy. This guy does this. Because what happens is that we want disclosure. We want the government to come out and tell us everything. Well, get our house in order first, right? Because everybody's going to come looking at us. And then you got this charlatan and this clown over here telling these things that distracts from what us three are trying to do. I digress.
Yeah.
No, kudos to you, man, for saying that. I mean, that's great. I
it's my viewpoint, but I
agree.
think a lot of people do think like that too, right? So.
Yeah, I agree. Like, there's no room for egos. There's just room for facts and you know, being good to each other and stuff. I think, like, if I'm calling out somebody, it's because I think they're taking advantage of weak-minded and possibly, you know, delusional people, and I don't want to see that happen. You can't stop it.
Right.
I think even like if you deliberately lie to people to keep current, as opposed to telling them the truth to keep current, and that's what happens. That, you know, people become corrupted over time. Sorry, it looks like our boy Darcy froze there.
Yeah.
They got him. They got him. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think that's the thing, is the entertainment aspect of disclosure, and it is a thing. Like, you look at the disclosure movie that just came out.
Right.
It is entertainment. It's infotainment. Like, people will pay money to watch something they already know. And I can't tell you how many times I keep hearing, oh, it's going to be a revolutionary, groundbreaking documentary. It never is. It never is. Because it's the same people. It's, you know, it's like seeing the same actors in a different movie, but it's always the same actors. You can't get the other characters out of your head. And I think that's what's happening. It's the young players now that are up to bat. And I think it's, you know, we were seeing that in Congress. Was it Jeff Nutilli that was there? The one that you went to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were in the back. You made it, by the way. I saw you're holding up your little camera there. Pretty cool. It's like, that's my boy. You can almost see him. Yeah. But, you know, like, these young guys coming forward and saying, look, I had this incident, and we're not talking about something from the 70s or 80s anymore. Now we're talking about something that took place in late 90s, early 2000s, early 2010s. And what that tells us is that this phenomenon, it's not really phenomenon, it seems to be more prevalent than we'd like to admit, is constantly, still actively doing its thing on this planet. It's not like it stopped in the 80s and 70s. It's just that, you know, people have been better at hiding it at this point. But disclosure is a weird thing, because it's a backlog of other people's crimes, errors, and omissions that you have to release. You know what I mean? It's a whole backlog. Yeah.
That's very true. Yeah. And I think that's part of what makes it so difficult for this to move forward, because a lot of people are going to be in trouble if this actually does come out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a lot of body bags behind this issue. Like, a lot. Yeah. People have been killed over this, even politicians. So if that's the case, that is a big issue for disclosure. It's not so much we have visitors as what did we do to keep that quiet from you?
Right.
That's the bigger aspect of disclosure they don't want to face, right?
Right. And that's a chilling thought. Thinking about body bags. What
have we done? This is the part that, you know, people need to understand. Like, oh, aliens, okay, but what have we done? And only that, but you think human trafficking? You think the military doesn't human traffic humans to these entities? Because they do, right? We heard about that from that Michael Sierra guy, I think it was his name. But not only that, you have people that are, you know, in alien abduction cases that see military personnel on board of the craft just watching. Yeah. Which means that these incidents are fully they're known by the military, and the military watches this, so that means they're allowing human trafficking. You know, and like I said, that is the bigger crime. It's like, what have you done, right? If you're like, well, we can't beat them, might as well join them. Okay, but you got to think about, we're asking for disclosure from guys like Christopher Mell and Lou Elizondo. I want to know from the person that to stand in the room and watch another person get medically examined by aliens. Like, that's the guy I want to know. And what happens after that guy retires? Where does he go? Does he get to retire? Do they shoot him? Like,
Right. Yeah,
how far does this program go? I'm so interested in this. Like, I think shit's going to hit the fan with the personnel of the military when they find out how they've been treated in the past because of this.
Yeah, I mean, that's a crazy thought. You're right, and I actually haven't really thought about that before. Like the people who are in the back and seen in these, like, during these abduction experiences. Like, yeah,
I have to go along with the entities or show them something like those guys. That's who I want to hear from. Right. But again, what does that do to a person? Like, let's say you sign up for the military to defend your country, but in 5 years you end up being in a room full of aliens watching something horrible happen to somebody, and you're like, I didn't sign up for this, right? And this is exactly what's happening to these men and women. They're thrust into these programs, and I don't know what the outcome is. I don't know what the exit strategy is for people like that. Is there an exit strategy? Like, can they just let you go, knowing what you know, seeing what you've seen? Like,
I can't imagine there's a clean exit strategy. There's no way.
I can't see it. You know, however I play that out in my mind, but I think that's another thing. It's like, okay, well, these people in the program, are they lifers at this point?
Right.
If they're not lifers, what do? Do you wipe their minds? Do you threaten them so bad that there is no way in their lifetime that it would ever reveal it? Like, there's got to be tactics that they have in place for this sort of stuff. Yeah. It's not just the intimidation of us, the public, but of their own servicemen and women as well.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest part. That's what's scary about all this, is like human fodder, and that human life is cheap.
Right.
Just throw it at it until we get what we want, right? And this is a Cold War, unfortunately, that you got China, Russia, America all vying for who's going to develop this technology faster than the others. And it is a silent Cold War. We can't hide our heads in the sand about that. That's exactly what's happening. Eventually, one country is going to come up with something terrifying. Like when the States came out with the nuclear bomb, look how fast they won the war.
Right.
China comes out with something equally as devastating from alien tech. Okay, we're all bound to China or Russia or the States. But, you know, historically speaking, humans have never been good with technology, especially powerful technology. We are very much stupid and will annihilate each other with it. And again, that part is, we're never going to be unified on this issue, because even if there is entities, they say, hey, we're here. Great, but we still have 3 countries that are at war with each other to try to reverse your technology.
Right.
Like, are they going to do anything about those guys? Or what's our exit strategy? When does it end?
Exactly.
When it's too late? Like, I don't understand. Like, it's so weird, Scott. It's so weird.
It really is. And to what you were saying too about like the military folks who are in there, like talking about the exit strategy, you mentioned like wiping their memory. And it sounds so like crazy to talk about that, but like there's a lot of stories of like, you know, aliens, whatever these beings are, manipulating people's memories and like screen memories and all this other stuff. So if all that is to be taken like as fact that this stuff is definitely happening, then yeah, they can easily wipe your memory and not make you remember these certain events. So that's the exit strategy. You're the military personnel. You've had to be present for all these abduction experiences in the background. But now you're getting old, you're retiring, you got to get out. We're just going to wipe this. This never happened. Yeah. And your screen memory, what you actually did was you worked in an office and you were filing papers and
you got coffee for the boss, or What did you do? I don't know. We're just really boring. Like, if you don't remember your career in the military, you're one of them. Even now, like, you got these guys that worked at Roswell. They're older gentlemen there, but they worked there in the 80s and 90s. And they all have cancers and horrible autoimmune disease that they got from Area 51. Except now the VA won't cover any of their stuff because technically they never worked there.
Right.
They're off the papers.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right.
So now you got servicemen that are dying of cancer that should be treated by their own military, since it's them that gave them the cancer to begin with. And they're like, no, you never worked at Area 51. We have no records of you working there. And like I said, it's cheap. Life is cheap fodder. Just throw your servicemen at it. Like, it's another gump in a uniform. Throw it in there. That's the part that, to me, I get angry at is, like, okay, you value this so much that human life is cheap. And, you know, even we're talking about people being killed. Investigators have been killed. Whistleblowers have been killed. People in political realms have been killed. There's even rumors that JFK might have been killed over the whole UFO disclosure thing. We don't know. But if that's the case, they're willing to shoot a president of the United States dead to keep this quiet. Then the average Joe like you and I really don't stand a chance.
No.
But again, it's the, like you mentioned, it's the audacity of saying that they know some about reality, about the real reality that they'll never know. And they play you for stupid, right? And you can tell it's not working. There's a big, you know, population of people that are sound like mine that look at it and say, no, like objectively, you know, if you look at all the evidence that we have, like you could try somebody for life with all the evidence we have on UFOs subject. Like you could send somebody to prison for life. But even when I had a job interview this week, the lady's like, well, what's your podcast about? And I told her, like, I'm a UFO investigator. She says, oh, like her, you could tell her face changed. Like the public still has that stigma. And like they've been worked on for years and they never question it. The problem is just to be told something and never questioning it. Like if a stranger talks to you at a party, and I saw a stand-up comedian say this once, and I thought this is true of us as species, but so he's at a party and some guy's like, hey, did you know dolphins lay like 900 eggs? And you're like, I didn't know that. And then you go to another party and you talk to somebody, and you're like, did you know dolphins lay 900 eggs? And the guy's like, no, I'm a marine biologist. That's not true. They're like, oh, like, why is it that we trust what a stranger will tell us is absolute fact? Why would they lie to us? You don't know them, right? And you just take it for fact. And we do the exact same thing in this community.
You are, I don't know, I've never heard anything truer than that, man. That is so true. You're right.
Make a t-shirt.
I know.
Yeah.
We'll come up with a t-shirt for that.
Yeah.
That's true, man. That's like, and unfortunately, that's a huge part of like what we face with like literally every day.
Yeah. Like every time there's a new whistleblower, everybody believes them. I'm like, where did he come from? I've never heard of this guy. I just turned on X and he's all over X. Like, take time to look into something. Like, take a week. It's not going to hurt you. Nobody's going, oh my God, Scott hasn't said anything about this new guy that just came out 10 minutes ago. Nobody's waiting for that. What they're waiting for is a sound, reasonable response, which a lot of people don't do. They chase the sensationalism. So that very night that something happens, I'll have a podcast talking about it. You don't know any more than anyone else. So really making a podcast about it is not, you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand why people do that. Especially like the Miami Mall. No information, whatever. It was all just speculation. And it was all over the place. But Miami Mall incident, follow our podcast. What are you going to talk about? What everybody else is talking about? No new information. So when you wait it out, like Jacques Vallée for me was always such a strong influence, because Jacques will come out with a book. It's very powerful, very meaningful, and then he withdraws. And you don't hear from him for a couple of years. And then he comes back out, says something, and then withdraws. But what happens with Jacques? You respect Jacques. Jacques comes out, you listen to Jacques. Jacques has kept his, you know, that is who you should try to emulate as best as possible in this field. Not the guy that comes out, you know, every day with something new. All that person is eventually doing is just chasing sensationalism. I would rather have the guy that took 2-3 years to write a book and then talk to nauseum with them about, like, what did you write about? What did you know, right? And I think that's what people need to do now, is to stop chasing the 7-second videos, you know, the brain rot stuff, because it really changes our focus on, you know, this subject. You need to sometimes not read or do anything, just stand still and just think. And then sometimes the answers come to you and then sometimes they don't, but take time to think about what's out there first before you react. I think it's always a good thing, because we're very reactionary in this community. Even somebody attacks somebody, like there's like a video right away, oh, I heard so-and-so's being a bitch. Like, you can't do that. It's just, silence sometimes is the best way to go, and especially these times when it's all messy. This is why we haven't put out any episodes lately. It's too messy. The waters are too murky. if I go and throw myself into that mix, I'm making myself murky. You know what I mean? I don't mind pulling back because, you know, you come back after 6 months of hiatus. I didn't lose status. I didn't lose my reputation. I didn't, you know what I mean? While other people are doing all those exact things at this moment to become one, right? Become king, number one on it. It's just, it's silly. It's stupid. And like I said, it's time that we call this out. Like, it's not great research when, you know, you got a big operation of cameramen behind you. It's not like, you know, Jacques Vallée, you're more of a performer at that point,
Exactly.
right? So, yeah.
That's true, man.
It's very therapeutic, Scott. Thank you. I just feel like I'm on
Of course,
all
man.
my frustrations.
I know. All right, so I'm running out of phone battery. And
Yeah, me too.
I'm gonna suffer the same fate as Darcy soon. So we could call this a wrap on this.
It was fun.
But Jason, thank you for coming on again. Super appreciate it. Darcy, hopefully I can get you back on again too. I always love talking.
He's an amazing guy. Yeah. You're an amazing guy too. You know what I mean? Both of you. Hearts of gold.
Right? Appreciate it. But yeah, thank you, Jason, for joining. Thank you, everyone who tuned in. And this will be uploaded on YouTube in the next week or so. So if you didn't get to catch this live, then you can catch it on YouTube in a couple of weeks. All right. Thank you, Jason. Thank
Awesome.
you. We'll be in touch.
Take care, Scott.
Bye, man. Take care.